systems breaking through the scene. With Ethernet's power, their victories foreseen. Oh, wired for success. Cisco's got the edge, they're outperforming the rest.
I guess we are introducing ourselves, Henrik.
Yes.
So we were supposed actually to have this session after Clarence's session. We gave an hard time to Niklas. So I'm Paola Arosio. I'm a Director of Product Manager in Cisco Networking.
Yeah, and I'm Henrik Nydell, part of the product management team for Accedian Skylight. So let's get started, Paola.
Yeah, let's speak about network automation and assurance. So I'm starting with those numbers, right? Some of the numbers come from a first research. First number, 80%. 80% is the time that is spent to understand where the problem is. What we call mean time to identify, mean time to know, also called mean time to innocence. So it's my fault, it's your fault, where is the problem, and so on, right? 74% is the number of time that a customer finds an issue before the tool that we actually have, the service provider have. And 30% is like the time that an issue is a repetitive issue. What they are impacting? Those are impacting, the first one is like the visibility, the agility to actually introduce new technology. The second is impacting, of course, customer experience. And the third one, the productivity of the team. So let's actually look at the experience, right, that we have based on those numbers. The customer finds an issue before the tool, and then it says, well, I actually have this problem. We call the help desk, and the help desk has no visibility of what is happening. So maybe it's a new technology, and so they are actually escalating to the next level. The next level, it's looking, where is the problem, where is the problem? We need a subject matter expert. The subject matter expert actually is involved, so he cannot actually focus on innovation, but he needs actually to start troubleshooting, right? And troubleshooting a service, it means like to look at different aspects of this service. So some of you are actually, most of you are familiar with NSO and the beauty of automation. The very first things actually that you need to do to automate is to model. You need to model what you want to automate. So let's think about how we can actually model all these steps so that all these troubleshooting steps can be automated. This was like already presented yesterday by Rana, so I won't spend a lot of time. Our goal is not actually to have the same functionality in all the levels. It's like present the data in a way that can be consumed by the operator based on the information that they have, the knowledge that they have. The level 1 operator, we don't actually have the deep expertise in the technology that the subject matter expert has, and they need to actually have different tools. So this is why we actually have assurance capability that are delivered by Skylight Analytics. We have assurance capability in the hierarchical controller to help the operator to identify where the problem is on the IP or on the optical. And we actually have deep assurance capability into the controller to help the operator, the subject matter expert, to get that visibility needed to troubleshoot a problem. And with that...
Thank you, Paola. If you were here yesterday, there was a quote from Lord Kelvin about that what you cannot measure, you cannot improve. And this is, of course, again, reiterating the meaning that it's very important to be able to get KPIs and to get more information about how your network performs. So this is why we built Accedian Skylight, started 6 years ago building this platform. The idea of taking in as much as possible of various types of metrics into one platform and be able to combine them together, to correlate, to find anomalies, to find patterns in the data. So when you look at a Skylight dashboard like this, it may look like it's only one single metric you're looking at, but in fact, it could be a fully aggregated network view of thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of metrics that boil up into a single line showing the full health or the worst offenders, like a top-end list of data metrics. So to do this, we of course need to instrument the network. And we talked about this yesterday. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. So the type of various sensors that we have at Accedian, now part of Cisco, range from software-based, containerized, virtual machines, small form factor pluggable, but also larger probes that are rack mountable. We call them the performance elements. We also actually have capture sensors that can look at customer data and do real-time analysis of the applications that flow in the network. So, but this is not enough. We want to get more data into Skylight. So this is why we also built an open ingestion pipeline into the solution, so that we can take third-party KPIs from other vendors and other products, but now also together with Cisco, we have started integrating with the Cisco platforms to get more KPIs out of the install base. But to look at the whole family of Cisco products that we sort of try to tie together in the Skylight solution, we have on the left-hand side CNC, NSO, HCO. So the past year we have worked on the integration with these platforms to allow communication both ways. So the orchestration tools in the Crosswork platform can communicate with Skylight, set up our tests, configure our sensors, and can also retrieve the data back. We can get notifications if something changes in Skylight, but also get the full data feed or select data points back into CNC. On the northbound integration side, we are working with Thousand Eyes, we're working with AppD, and with Splunk. This is still prototype development, but we want, of course, be able to provide our alerts, our insights of what happens in the service, in the network, up to those platforms. But finally, looping back to our open ingestion pipeline. So if you look at the blue box in the middle, that's where we are investing heavily right now to be able to take in SRPM data from MPLS SR environments. We are working with, as Clarence mentioned yesterday, with the new IPM initiative on getting those data points in. Routed optical networks, model-driven telemetry from Cisco devices, as well as the sustainability metrics that Monica talked to you about before the break. So with the width of those metrics, there are at least three. I'm going to talk about three use cases today that we are working. So one is the SRPM, where we take in the hop-by-hop statistics from a Cisco SRPM network and correlate that with an Accedian end-to-end view that monitors on the top. Sustainability, I'm going to double-click quick on that because you heard it before the break, but getting the KPIs from devices that can report power consumption, etc. And for routed optical networks, it's a very interesting use case to be able to take in optical metrics like receive power, bit error rates, etc., and correlate it with the higher layers of assurance that we can do with Skylight. So why why is Skylight so good, right? One reason is because we have built the solution ground up to be very accurate, very granular, and provide a wealth of metrics that are not only min-max averages. We report, I think it's 10 or 15 various percentiles of distribution of delay and jitter values. We can report report one-way data, so not only round-trip values. We can divide the data on uplink and downlink and show that separately. And one important point is granularity of the metrics. So Clarence, yesterday, who talked about IPM, he talked about how important it is to monitor the network often, but it's also important to report the data frequently and often. So traditional systems may do just an average, a report every minute, and you may think that your service is performing well, that it's below the threshold of 2 milliseconds. But if you have a solution that can report more in a more granular fashion, you may see that you are actually breaching the threshold now and then, but you wouldn't see that if you wouldn't have the higher granularity that we can provide with our solution. So with that, I'll go over to a quick demo showing how we are looking at various services in the Skylight platform. On the top layer, we have our latency measurements using TWAMP. We can see here there is some packet loss events happening periodically. So, and this is an aggregated view of the full network. So it's a full customer, all the monitor session for a single customer. We can zoom in on a particular event. And when looking at that event of a packet loss, we can see that it looks like it correlates between various measurement sessions. They have the same pattern in the middle column. So going over to our pattern analysis mechanism, you can now see that it's the router in the middle that is orange, that is the common point between these measurement sessions. And that's the common point that is contributing to this issue we were seeing then periodically happening. That's a way of using Skylight to troubleshoot and actually try to find the culprit or the actual reason for an issue. Looking at the different use case, here we have a packet loss that is 100%. So everything is gone during a short period of time. Looking at metrics then from the routed optical network side, we can see that this event correlates perfectly in time with that there was a dip in receive power for the optics. So we can come to the conclusion that, yeah, something happened with the fiber. That was the reason for this end-to-end service to have an issue. Here I show a graph of our ongoing integration with SRPM. So we're also taking in that data, displaying it in the same type of dashboards in Skylight, and can correlate the data with all the other types of KPIs that we can ingest. So with that, I will hand over back to Paola to tell how we work more together with CNC.
So, as we said, like, we need to present the data in a way that are actually consumable by the operator. So the operator that is looking at Skylight Analytics may not actually have all that deep knowledge on the topology, the traffic engineering, and so on, right? But he needs actually to understand it's my service meeting the policy, the SLA, or there is like a risk of breach, and so my customer is going to be impacted. Then, the next level of operation, like Rana was telling yesterday, we need actually to help the operator in understanding in which domain there is a problem. And the approach is always top-down. I start from the service, and that is one of the reasons of the acquisition of Accedian, which is the quickest way to actually understand if a service is degrading, is testing the service, empirically testing the service and understand if it's actually dead down. Then, once I actually have a service impact, I want to look where the problem is, right? And this is like if you actually have a multi-layer network with packet optical multi-vendor network, then you want to understand if the problem is rising because you actually have a problem on the IP part or a problem on the optical part, or the two are in some way related. So you can actually activate the proper subject matter expert of the specific domain. So here it's like just an example of some of the functionality that has been added in HCO. HCO is like the core functionality that HCO provides is the visibility of the topology across the different layers. And then we are using this topology visibility to enable some assurance use case. One of these use cases here you see is the link assurance use case that help you in understanding across the different link of the optical layer that are connecting the ZR optic that are actually running on the router where the actual problem is. And in order to do that, is actually presenting the data that are actually related to that specific link, always collecting data and contextualize before visualizing, so that the operator that actually use that can actually understand. The same approach, we are doing that for the Crosswork network controller. In the Crosswork network controller is our IP controller. Also in the IP layer, you actually have different layer. You have the infrastructure, you have the traffic engineer, you have the service, and you can actually go, it's like about slicing, transport slicing. So how we actually approach that? We are actually looking at the specific metric that identify the health of each layer, right? At the infrastructure, we are collecting, fault, specific API, not everything. We don't want to flood the operator with a bunch of KPI. We are collecting the one that we know that can actually influence the health of the component in the infrastructure. And the component infrastructure are interfaces, port, pluggable, module, device, and the link that connect the different devices. At the next level, we are leveraging the instrumentation that has been added on the XR, and we are leveraging the SRPM, that is at the end a TWAMP-based tool. At the next level, again, we are actually leveraging Accedian, because Accedian gives us actually the possibility to enable probing on device that does not support standard TWAMP testing. And remember that Crosswork network controller is a multi-vendor application, so we need actually to be able to enable also third-party device with probing. But then we are actually leveraging on a concept that has been actually introduced in ITF and now is in RFC, that is called service assurance for intent-based networking. I will go a bit deeper on this concept because it's very similar. There is a lot of parallelism with the concept of a network service orchestrator. And then, of course, because we can monitor a service, then we can monitor also a transport slide that is actually mapped to a service. So here is like some small view of what we can do, right? So again, we can actually give a complete visibility to the operator where the problem is by actually providing the visibility of the connectivity. I have this interface on this specific port, on this specific card, on this specific slot, on this specific device, and so on. Always contextualize the information. I can provide also fault information and actually overlay that on top of the inventory. And in 7.0 that is coming out in August, we add also all the metrics. Some of them you have seen during the demo of the sustainability. Of course, we can actually generate a threshold crossing alert that actually can be consumed. At the policy level, we use the SRPM to actually have two levels of monitoring. One is on the link, on the core link, because Bertrand told me, right, that most of the time, if you actually have a service degradation, it's because one of your core link is actually impacted or is degrading, right? And so we actually use that, the SRPM for the link monitoring. We are not collecting the quantity of data that can be actually provided by Accedian. We collect, some data because our goal in the context of the controller is to understand where is the problem and help the operator in the troubleshooting. And then we are using SRPM. Of course, when there is like a policy associated, we can actually measure the health of the policy. Of course, we can actually expose this information to the next level. Then, in the context of Accedian, what we have done, we actually have done an integration very similar to what you have seen yesterday with Henrik and Niels on NSO. What we are doing is like Crosswork, is like interacting with the Accedian orchestrator, like it's interacting with any other node, right? So we are actually asking Accedian, I want to actually have a session from here to there. Crosswork does not know where the probe are, if there are virtual probe or if it is an SFP. It's actually using a REST interface to provide some of information. And our intent is like to extend, so you can actually program which type of test you want to run and which type of information you want actually to receive. during this programming, what we actually provide to Accedian is like, we provide also the service on which we want to actually have this session enabled, and the topology where we want to actually have this session enabled. And all these topology and information are described in the Young model of the service definition that is done in the function pack for NSO. And then when we receive the data with the frequency that we actually have defined, we receive the data already contextualized with the service information that we pass. And that service information can actually be used as metadata to enrich the view into the Skylight analytics. How that are the different components. Then we need actually to put that together. And that is like where it's come, the service health. The service health is an implementation of the ITF RFC 9417. How the service health work? We were saying at the beginning, think about you can model all the troubleshooting steps that you will do normally in a definition, in a model, in a specific language. So like I'm defining in the function pack how I want actually to provision a service, I have also a companion of the function pack in the assurance that is called a heuristic package. In the heuristic package, I'm defining how I want actually to monitor the different components. Which are those components that I'm going to monitor? Are exactly the component that I can actually deriving from the definition of the service on NSO and the configuration that I have on the device. So you will see that in this specific example, I'm monitoring a layer 2 VPN. If there is like a configuration of the probe, like in this case, it's an embedded probe Y7031, then I will see that branch. If that configuration is not there from the service, you won't see that branch. So this graph model is completely dynamic and is changing as the service is changed through NSO. Of course, then we want to present the data to the operator in a way that is like consumable. So we are actually presenting the same graph to the operator. One other thing that we are doing, each component of this graph is actually assured independently, and we are actually providing also some hint to the operator on the cause of the degradation. So the operator won't need actually to drill down and understand exactly where is like the problem. He will actually have a view of the problem, but also an hint of the possible symptom. And of course, we can actually expose all this information. I mean, Farouk will actually have a session tomorrow about that. Just a small demo. They're like very simple. Here you see, as always, Crosswork network controller. You see, the information, which are actually the data, the service that are degrading. I can actually go select the specific, unselect, and see which one that are monitored and not monitored. I can choose which one actually to monitor. And I can choose the type of monitoring. So we use advanced if we want actually to enable also probing with Accedian on layer 3 VPN services. So I can actually go into the detail. If you see here, it's like already I give some information, and I give also a possible reason of the degradation of the service. So I don't really need to go down into the detail of the reason why. I already actually have a hint for the operator on the possible reason. In this case, you see that there are actually 3 sessions that actually has been actually defined, and it's been completely automatic. So once the operator enables the monitoring, they can see they actually have interacted with Accedian to get the information. This is like a more deeper representation, right, of my model with the different components. Again, I see the 3 probe sessions that has been created with the one that are actually impacted. One other thing that I can do, I can, of course, actually review, which is like the detail of the symptom that I have, but I can go back in time and understand if the symptom that I see now, it's like similar to a symptom that I actually have in the past. whenever there is a degradation, the system actually collects data for 24 hours and keep collecting data till the degradation has gone. So I can always compare and review those data. The second one that shows like exactly data that are coming from the session that has been actually created through Accedian. I believe this is last slide. So how the operator experience changed. We have seen at the beginning, right, that there was like a ball rolling down to the domain expert. In this case, we actually have each operator, even the customer, actually have complete visibility of the service that they have in the network in a form that is like more aligned to their knowledge and what they need actually to know. So the customer to Accedian can actually have a customer portal and they can monitor their services. So they can say, well, I actually see a degradation and I saw that in the dashboard that I have that. The first level, let's say, it will actually have a view of, yeah, I see my service, I see also that they have a degradation there, and I actually have an hint on the possible reason. It's like, yes, the device supporting YORP is dropping packet, and then, you can actually have the level 2 and level 3 at this point. They are not needed actually to continue to support level 1 that actually have more information about the service, but they can actually extend the heuristic package. How you can extend the function pack of NSO, you can do the same thing with the heuristic package. So do the development, develop new use cases that you are seeing in the network, and then actually publish the heuristic package that can be consumed, so you will actually enable your level 1 and your front desk to be more independent and leave you alone to do innovation. So I don't know, I believe that we were a quick speaker, Niklas, and we recovered time. Yeah. So with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Any question?